I would like to begin by thanking Representative Smith and his staff for being so instrumental in putting this together and getting so many of you here today. Likewise, welcome to everybody. Everybody here today is very special to me, and it's very heartwarming to see this many people show this much interest in what we're trying to do, or what we're actually doing, I should say. As a footnote, I would say, Brian, they say the mind's the second thing to go. They have pills for that other thing now, I guess. So yes, I confirm I'm Jim Shuster, and I'm a business person of many sorts. I do a lot of different things, from legally blowing down buildings and bridges and things like that with explosives, and to building high voltage electric lines, to raising cattle, and a lot of things in between. Had a stint as a professional race car driver for a good many years, and just had a blessed life. And so my first rule of business is I know who I'm doing business with. What's their motive? What's their ask? Why do they want to do business, or what, here or with me or whatever? So I struggle with this when I speak sometimes, because I go to so many presentations and they do a bio, okay, and it's hard for me just because of the fact I've led a blessed life, and I don't want to be self-aggrandizing or whatever, but I think it's important you know where I am and where I came from and why I'm here today in front of you. So I'll buzz through this whole presentation pretty much at a 10,000-foot level, and owing to the diversity of the group and the time that we have. And I'll do my best to be a good steward of our time. But then my hope is that later today or in the very near future, we set up some specialized meetings for those areas of particular interest to the different parties represented here, if that makes any sense. So with that, I'll get started about myself. I was a Punxsutawney kid. I grew up here in a very blue-collar family. Likewise, my wife came from a very blue-collar family. I was actually, the house they lived in when I was born is right where Representative Smith's office is now, at 109 Indiana Street. When I turned 5, my parents were worried about me walking the whole way to Mary A. Wilson from there, so they rented a house about 300 yards from here at 301 East Liberty Street, where I lived till I was 12. And then my parents finally, at the age of 54 years old, had saved up enough money they could finally buy a house. God bless them. Over on Altman Avenue, it had some notoriety here in the past couple of months. Locals know why. But, and I bought that house from their estate, and I've renovated and improved it. My biggest wish is I could have done it for them when they were here, but we don't always get those choices. But I went to school here and had some of the most wonderful teachers and educators that you can imagine. And I could have went to college if I wanted to. I think I could have. But I didn't for a couple of reasons. Number one, my parents were 42 years old when I was born, and I had an older brother that was 19 years older than me, and he told me my whole life, I told the old man to get the TV fixed. Then I showed up. And I just always had that feeling that my parents had just been the most giving, loving, generous people. And I didn't want to ask them to try to help me go through whatever 4 years of college or whatever. And even though I'd have worked and I probably maybe got some scholarships, I don't know, whatever. But I just had spent enough time sitting on a seat behind a desk. So I traded that seat behind a desk for the seat behind a set of steering clutches of a D9 bulldozer on a strip mine, where I learned how to operate equipment, learned how to drill and blast, learned about the coal. Coal's always intrigued me, and Dave Ossikovich and I spent endless times just discussing, like, the different seams and qualities and all those things. But alas, we all know where the coal business went back in those days. And so I went to Florida for 32 months. I went down there and expecting to get a job as a heavy equipment operator, and I did for about a month. And then they made me a foreman. And then I had the opportunity to read blueprints and learn and educate through them myself to it. And I was heck, I didn't live there more than a year. I bought a house, you know. I was doing good. But then I got homesick. And there's something about this town. You can take the guy out of Punxsutawney, but you can't take Punxsutawney out of the guy. And that was me. And I came home. Well, I came home, and it wasn't a whole lot better. The opportunity, the business, and wasn't here. And so, and then between there, then my wife and I had a baby, so I had a 6-year-old baby that I loaded up, and I went. My wife and I went down to and most people here is the Harrisburg area, which extends somewhere from Bedford to the other side of Lancaster. And I laugh, you know, because out there, anything here, you're out in Pittsburgh. Yeah, I'm a Yinzer, and I'm guilty of it. But I went down there, and I got a good job, and then I got a better job. And then I got a better job. And but I always had the desire to work for myself ever since I was a kid. And so after flipping a couple houses that we bought and lived in, and I did most of the upgrades and stuff myself, I'm able to do that. I finally, after 14 years, back in April of 2004, I got to go from a backy to a frontie. You know what a backy and a frontie are, right? From a guy who signed the back of his paycheck to somebody that signed the front of his paycheck and the front of many other paychecks. I always had that desire. And I was able to do that, and we did. And with a 5-year-old Spadala drill, I paid $75,000 for a $10,000 used skid loader and a Ford F-350 pickup truck with a dynamite box in the back. And my wife at my shoulder, we went into the business. And we became a drilling and blasting contractor. And I had achieved some notoriety. I'm the guy that could blast anywhere, inside buildings, you name it. I could bring it down or blast inside the one you wanted to keep up to put an elevator shaft or something in. And I take pride in that. It's a skill that I acquired mostly through self-education. And the first think about the time in 2004, and I thought, man, that first year could I do $1 million worth of business, and I did 1.8. Well, the next year I said, maybe if I could do 2.5, and I did almost 3. And then the next year, likewise. And I went from the 5-year-old Spadala drill, which I still own, and it still runs, and I'm proud of it. We have it out at our magazine site, where I purchased a $500,000 Atlas Copco rig and got bigger into it. And hired people. I had 5 employees, I think, at that time. And then 2008 happened. And if any of you remember, it was a sudden, deep, and crappy recession. And of course, in any recession, the first 2 things that get hit is retail sales and construction. And so we struggled mightily. A lot of restless, downright sleepless nights, and but we struggled and we worked. And I can't say enough about my wife, because when I say she's part of the business, I mean we got up at 4 or 5 in the morning, went and loaded the dynamite truck. She inventoried, because when you handle explosives, it's got to be inventoried very accurately, and unloaded. And we would go out and work our butts off all day, her and I next to each other. She learned to run equipment, and she was the best helper I ever had. You know, when you're a strategic blaster and you're doing really, it's like being a surgeon to some degree. And you remember, you know, the old medical shows, scalpel, retractor, whatever. And literally, my wife could read my mind, that all I did was hold my hand out and she had the right thing there. And she learned what I was doing. And so I can't give her enough credit for where we ended up. But as I said, we hit that terrible recession, and it was, to any of you who had to live through it the way I did, there's no way to describe it. But and I can remember laying in bed one night and praying, God, could you throw me a lifeline? And I prayed that a couple times. And then a few days after that, I was driving down the road, coming from Carlisle back to Newville, and I saw a truck parked along the road from New York. Know who it was or what they were. But I was raised that, like a lot of you were, that you help. My dad couldn't drive past somebody fixing a flat tire without stopping and at least offering to help, if not downright helping. That's how we were. That's how many of your families were. So I got to admit, I went down the road about a quarter of a mile until I just had this feeling. I can't describe it. A feeling of guilt. You should have stopped and helped that guy. And then it almost got to the feeling that you're screwing up if you don't go help that guy. And so I turned around at the sheet store at the corner of Rittner Highway and Allen Road. Senator Hoffman knows right where I mean. And I turned around and went back up, pulled over behind a guy. And luckily he wasn't broke down. He was actually from out of town. He's from New York. And he was there scouting work that they were to perform for Pennsylvania Power and Light, PP&L. And so I say, everything okay? Sure. Oh, he thanked me and whatnot. And I said, you're a long way from home. And he said, yeah, I am. And he said, we're getting ready to start work. And I ran work for God knows how many years. And it's hard working away from home, especially to get started sometimes, to find out where you are. And I said, sir, look, I said, I'm from here. I'm a contractor. I know everybody. I said, here, take a couple of my cards. And I said, if you break down or you need to know it, call me, man. You know, that's just being a good neighbor. You know, welcome to the neighborhood, and God bless you. See you later. And I left. Forgot about it, like you would, a conversation like that. And in about 2 weeks, my phone rang one day, and my cell, back in the days when we had the Nextel flip phones still, but itself as a man by the name of Willie Tiernan. And he said, I own KT Power Corporation. And he said, we just got awarded a whole lot of work down in your area. And he said, it's hard. You stopped to offer help to my son. And I have some work I'd like you to give you. Well, we're a drilling and blasting contractor, which we went over in Burton-Heisel Bridge Road. The job ran from there to Enola, probably 8-9 miles. And it's all rock. Carlisle's they blast to put graves in the ground here. They truly do. I've done it. And I started out blasting some. By the time we were a third of the way through that job, I had a bulldozer there building them roads. I was putting down silt sock. I was doing all these things. And it opened an entire new business that I had never been in, that to this day has brought us $400 million worth of revenue. Because one day I stopped to help a guy along the road. Okay. And I tell you this because that's how I got in the farming business. You know, there's an old joke down our way. There's guys who farm for money and with money. And I was the latter. Because that's how could a young person start a farm and do the things, you know. So I started investing the profits that we were realizing now, going from a $2 million to a $30 million a year company. It changes your life. And then they tell you to prepare for failure, but they don't tell you to prepare for success. And so what we did is we started purchasing farms. And then we decided, well, we weren't going to grow plants, we were going to grow animals. And if we were going to do that, it was going to be Wagyu cattle. And so my son and I and daughter-in-law flew down to Virginia and bought a herd of 20 Wagyu heifers that now we're at about 1,000 head, 9 years later. And despite the fact that I had an unknown amount of people tell me when I got into that venture, I was a fool. Who in the hell would pay $50 a pound for steak and all this, that, and the other thing? And boy, am I glad I didn't listen to them, because we sell it out. We can't grow it as fast as we sell it. And we've come to that point in our business where we need to expand. And that decision was made for any one of a number of reasons to do it here. I'll detail some of the reasons later. But I hope I didn't bore you with that story. I hope it didn't take too much time. And forgive me for my moments of... But it's true. And so could we play... I think this next short 2-minute video clip does a lot to visualize and explain a little bit about who my family and I are and what we've done in the Newville area. Blessings I have in my life is the fact that I'm able to have my whole family working with me. It's so rewarding to be able to work with your sons and your daughter-in-laws and your wife and create something that's bigger than yourself.
You know, as a family, we get to create jobs, we get to feed people. That's really special, I think, that we're taking something that, you know, people might never get a chance to try, and we're creating opportunities for more people to try this incredible product. And we've taken a lot of this land that hasn't been productive ground in decades. That's really what we're all about, is putting this ground back to work and creating jobs, and we're really proud to be successfully doing that.
We are more based on quality rather than quantity. The Wagyu beef is considered a high-end product, and when you can get product fresh from the field or fresh from the farm, it is much more desirable, much more flavorful.
It's so tender and has that buttery quality to it. It will blow you away. I mean, you don't realize what you've been missing until you've had it. It really is that fantastic.
It's how you raise it and how you feed it directly correlates to the quality of the meat. The animals on our farms, all of the animals, whether it's the cattle or horses, they're all loved and treated with respect and raised in a very humane way, and to the point where they're probably spoiled. I guess, you know, one thing that I would say is I was told as a young boy, if you find a job that you love, you'll really never have to work another day in your life. And I've been fortunate enough to find that. This next clip was run on the Big Ten network. Many of you are familiar with it. And it's a food critic that goes to all the various towns across the Big Ten schools, and they pick like restaurants at each school, and then they do a segment on them. And this was the one for the Tap House over in State College, Penn State, and so go ahead and run it. I think it's well done. It's very short.
We have a farm that we work with called 11 Oaks Farm to do a really high-end beef for us.
Only 80 miles south of Penn State, 11 Oaks Farm specializes in raising American Wagyu cattle.
Why Wagyu? The Wagyu itself is genetically predisposed to a higher degree of intracellular fat, which people like me call marbling. Puts that greater amount of flavor in the meat itself. Wagyu cattle came from Japan. In the 1970s, there was an importation of those breeds that were used to create what is today the American Wagyu.
That Wagyu beef is ground, then delivered to the field and topped with local cheddar to make one of the juiciest burgers I've ever tasted.
I mean, look at that thing. It's so beautiful. It's so juicy it got on my nose. I mean,
That's what you're looking for.
oh, God, that's good.
Just all buttery?
Mmm.
Then, do you have the Orange Bowl clip?
Yes.
They fared better than the football team when they went to the Orange Bowl here, but they have a food competition there of hundreds of different, and they won it with our burger. And it's there's a short clip there where they're. That's good. You know, for what it's worth, you know, it is good, and it that is kind of proof of that to some degree. And so now I would ask you to scroll through the 11 Oaks website quickly. Again, this is something you can do while you're sitting there on your phone or when you go home, whatever. But this is who we are. That's our products, about Wagyu. And coincidentally, Wagyu is the healthiest of red meats. The cholesterol in it is a good type of cholesterol. I'm not a doctor. If I had stayed 10 more years at medical school, I'd have probably been one. But we actually have 2 cardiologists that buy from us at the store, and they actually have our advertising in their waiting room, and they tell their patients, like, look, you know, we know you're going to eat red meat. If you're going to, here's what you should eat, you know, for what it's worth. As I said, that barn we built with recycled electric poles. It's kind of a neat story, you know, but not anything I'll talk about now. But, you know, we use our resources very wisely. And is like farm to table. And this is something I was going to talk about a little bit later in our presentation, but you know, I think right now might be better. You know, there's a lot of things have happened in the past several months, regardless of your beliefs or your politics or whatever. But one of the big ones is RFK Jr. And I believe what he is going to bring to this administration in the way of food, whole food, healthy food, knowing where your food comes from. And that plays right into our hand. We don't GMO, we don't use any of that stuff. And it's long overdue. You know what? We never thought about the stuff we ate when we were kids. Hell, I still don't. Heck, I didn't even think a whole lot about it with my children. But now that I have this beautiful little 14-month-old granddaughter that had health problems to begin with to get here, she's very good now. Everything's fine. But you think about that, and I told my family, I told my wife, I told my daughter-in-law and my son, I said, look, you know, we don't need to be giving her crap out of a can. Or I said, there's enough produce that we can buy from local sources, and we'll make, and if it takes longer, I'll hire a damn chef. I don't care, but I want that kid eating, you know, the best that we can. Not the stuff that comes out of cans, and I'm not saying that, but what I am saying is, where did that can come from? California, Nicaragua, wherever, knowing, you know, who's making my food and where it's coming from. And I believe that's going to get more and more important, as it very well should. I don't say that as a self-serving remark because I'm in that business. It's the truth, and I think we all can agree upon that. And it goes through, and you don't need to, but the community, one thing that you probably didn't take note of too much, or maybe you did, but in that video, you'll see when they're feeding the animals, you see all the feed sacks and the buckets and stuff. That's all our local businesses. And we wanted to stress that in that video. We support our local businesses anywhere we go. We work all over the United States now in this electrical thing we do. But we always establish local relationships with vendors there because that's just the right thing to do. My grandfather had, again, I didn't learn a whole lot in college because I didn't go, but I did learn a lot from the people that raised me. My grandfather had a great adage. He'd always say, best not to do business with people outside of choking distance, boy. And if you think about it, we've lost that. You know, now you buy something, whether it's over the internet, and hell, when I walked in these stores as a kid, the person that sold you the thing actually knew something about it. And that's kind of gone from our society. You buy things and they don't even put instructions. Look at our YouTube video, okay? There's no interpersonal, and I miss that. And when I got a problem with something, I'm not going to go choke the guy, come on. But I want to go talk to him and look at him. I don't want to call some helpline in Sri Lanka where I got to press 1 for English and get somebody who doesn't speak it anyway, or very well, you know. So we contribute to our community in a lot of ways, and we do it in a quiet way. Our charitable stuff we do in a quiet way, and but we do it, and that's what's important. And we do the same thing here. Already am. I'm going to continue it. Okay. I think go ahead and then to the Punxsutawney Beef website. Punxsutawney Beef and Provision. Well, I think I've already answered part of the question as to why Punxsutawney. That being, I have an affinity for the place and I love it. The other thing is Punxsutawney Beef and Provision. There's probably not too many people here in this room, a few, Butch Philibert being one of them, that remembers it. It closed in 1958 before I was born. And we lived just a couple hundred yards from the old factory. And as a kid, we'd sneak in there, Doug Walker and John Ingros and Brian Redding and Randy Redding, and we'd go over there and play. I can remember going through that factory and just how it amazed me, all the, you know, and just one day they closed the doors and shut it down. And it was due to health problems in the family and continue it. And so the decision was just made to close it. It wasn't a failing business in any aspect. They just couldn't staff it. Okay, I guess the best way to say it. And it made a big impact on this town. It started in 1905. The website, and I have the book, and Butch can give you the whole interesting story, how it started on $1.50 on a borrowed pig and a wheelbarrow. A great story. It's all part of the history of Punxsutawney. And it was an integral part of this economy. It employed 175 people with good union jobs, like we're going to create. Already am. And to just tell you how entrenched they were in this town, we have some of the old literature back there, some of the old bills of lading from the 20s and 30s and stuff. And I find it quite interesting that their phone number was, Butch, what was the phone number? 1. Okay? You know, if it was number 5, that would be impressive, but number 1. So that they were at the leading edge of developing this town. And how did it start? Well, the history will tell you it started through a collaboration of local business people starting a business, working together as a team, and then eventually the Philibert family bought out the other partners and operated for all those many years. And there's just so much history around that company and in this town. And so in honor of that, in honor of what they did for this town, and I went to the Philibert family, and I had in my mind I wanted to open this back up years ago. But I said, I am going to approach the Philibert family and ask, although they hadn't used the name, it had been closed for 60-some years, where I come from, you knock before you walk in the door. And so that's what I did. I approached Andy Philibert at the funeral of my best friend a couple of years ago at the funeral home and told him my plan. And the next thing you know, we were moving forward. Butch got involved. And you know, I got to say, Butch, thank you. You know, I was hoping you were positive about it, but I know you're over the top. He's so proud of what his family did, as he should be. And we want to continue that legacy for the town, for the Philibert family. And look, you know, one thing you'll find out about me, if you think Donald Trump's a direct guy, I make him look like a pauper. I say what's on my mind. I'm not real politically correct. Yes, I'm going to make money at it. That's the whole intent. That's not something to be ashamed of or penalized for, okay? That's how business is done. But we want to bring that money here and spend it here, okay, and create jobs here. And I have things in mind that people in this room may have never even dreamed of. My friend Nick Stello, Stello Foods, who, by the way, was a contributor to this today too. Thank you, Nick, and your family, as well as Marta Ingros did too. Talked about this, about ways to help the community, not just our business, but each other helping our business and dragging some other people with us to help. That's how a team works, and that's how a community should work. And, you know, I go back to when I stopped that day to help that guy along the road. I owe that. There's only four things, the main four things in my life that caused me to do that all came from this town. You know, I was taught to love God and obey His word. I had a wonderful family who reinforced that about being a good neighbor, being a good person. And I look at my old next door neighbor, Ed Kongursky. He'll tell you, my dad and mom were salty people. They take the shirt off their back for you. And that's the way I grew up. You helped your neighbors. You helped each other and whatever. And I was taught that here. The third thing I mentioned earlier was the great education I got here that I'll put up against anything. I work with engineers of all sorts every day on an eye-to-eye level. And if you look at my business card, it says by my name, HSD, high school diploma. That's the level of education I got here at this school from my wonderful teachers. And I took it, and I ran with it, and I made what I made out of it. And I owe it to them. And lastly, to the community. And I've said in interviews on television, radio, and whatever through the years, that where I came from, being a neighbor meant more than living down the street from somebody. There was almost an implied obligation to help your neighbor. Their car was broke down, you lent them yours or gave them a ride. Their mower broke down, hell, my dad wouldn't even lend them the mower. He'd just go mow the grass. That's how we lived. And that all kind of plays into our business model here. And that'll become apparent. But so there's a rare picture of me in a suit. I get in and out of those things as quick as I can. I apologize for my somewhat casual attire, but I think it's kind of tacky to sit up here and talk about farming and all that goes into it while you're wearing a three-piece suit and Alan Edmond shoes that don't go over. So that's our plan from that aspect. Now, why Punxsutawney beef? Well, I explained the history and my affinity for it. But I'd like to ask for a little bit of audience participation here. I see people of different age groups here, and I'm going to make a statement, and I'd like to ask you to finish it. Somebody, I don't care, everybody. Baseball, hot dogs, apple pie, and... Come on. Chevrolet? You don't remember that? How about 2 all-beef patties, special sauce, lettuce, cheese? Okay. Recognition. Name recognition. I've traveled all over the United States, Canada, Europe, not all over Europe. A couple trips over there was enough for me. But I've never been anywhere that they ask where you're from, and you say, virtually everybody knows the name of this town. Okay. I mean, recently I was with a friend getting on a ferry down in Key West, Florida to go to lunch at a restaurant out at Latitudes. And there was an English couple, retired educators and their adult daughter, and struck up a conversation on the ferry on the way out. And they asked where they're from. And, told me, he said, isn't that where the bloody gopher comes out and looks in the mirror? I mean, everybody knows about it, okay? Well, listen, to sell things, you got to get people to know your damn name, okay? And the name Punxsutawney has notoriety because of the groundhog. And you know what? Who was the founding members of the Groundhog Club? His grandfather, or great-grandfather. Okay. Started the dang thing. The artwork that you see with that groundhog, they were instrumental in having that done. And I believe you said it was the first time you had it was for the 1936 Elks Picnic?
06.
1906 Elks Picnic. Okay, that's where that thing, they had somebody draw it up, and it's been there ever since. It's used by the Groundhog Club. We have it up in our new water tower and whatnot. So, you know, we dug all the coal up from under these hills and put it on trucks and trains and barges and ships and sent it all over the world to, you know, a revenue stream. We drilled holes in the ground and we sent our gas everywhere. Why not use our name? That's a renewable resource, see? Everything I'm going to talk about here is renewable, sustainable, and viable. And that's the three things you have to have a successful business. And we believe we have them. We're already demonstrating it, and we're going to continue to do so here. And we're going to put some great people to work, and we're going to help bring money into this economy. And look, I'm not staying here promising I'm going to have a factory employing hundreds of people here in a year or two. I'm going to start. I'm going to work. And people like good people. And you want to do good things in life, you put good people around you, like Nick Stello, like Mark, like many of the people in this room here today. I want to do great things, so I'm looking for the great ones to help me become what I believe we will become here. And I believe that with all my heart. And we're going to do that. So, that being said, we could move along to our business plan. You know, I've kind of ad-libbed a little bit, maybe too much about that. But I love this town, man. I want to help it. I'm going to help myself, yeah. Guilty. Nothing wrong with that. If you could go to the business model plan. I'm going to buzz through the business plan, show you where we are, and what our intent is, and how we are going to achieve it. My talking points. Okay. And if you can see it, if not, I'll use it roughly as an outline to kind of buzz through. Well, what's our business plan? We're going to expand the Wagyu breeding and finishing operations in this area. Already bought the property and already building the yard up there. Okay, that's going to happen very fast. My goal is by March to have 125 to 150 head of finished cattle here in the county, at that location. While sourcing locally grown beef from known and trusted producers, the food chain thing, knowing where your stuff comes from, to market as regular beef. Look, if you eat, well, you'll see shortly, I guess. And we want to do that under the Punxsutawney Beef and Provision trademark. And we're going to use the existing sales platforms that we've created. We're going to continue to expand those platforms and discover new ones. So, is there anybody has a question about any of that we could quickly do? You're good? Okay, good. What are our revenue streams? That S is very important. Revenue streams. You have to have more than one source of revenue, or you're a one-trick pony and you're in trouble in business. Because if that pony forgets that trick, you know. So, well, right now we do the majority of the dollar volume that goes out our door is on a brown truck, UPS or FedEx, whatever. We ship all over the United States, from Hollywood, California to Key West, Florida, all points in between. And that is going to continue. So you see, Omaha beef, hear of it, okay? And people, I know there's people in this very room who've watched those commercials on TV and say, how the hell do people pay that kind of money? Like $89.95 for 4 hamburgers and a couple cousins and whatever. They get it every day. And I'm going to tell you something about that meat. And I don't ever speak evilly or poorly of a competitor. I will tell you the truth about me. I will tell you the truth about them. There's nothing special about that meat you're buying. Get it over here and shop it safe up at Walmart. Nothing special about Omaha beef, okay? They just sell it in a different format. And they have a different sales platform, and it's by the box rather than in your shopping cart. We've emulated that, but on a higher scale, lower volume, of course, because I can't grow enough of it. We're going to improve that here, but we're going to augment that with the other beef that we're going to sell partner market with it under the Punxsutawney Beef name. Have I said anything that doesn't sound right or is wrong? Please tell me if you do, because that's how I improve. So we go from that to the online sales that we do to end users, which we have many, many loyal customers. The gifting has become a very big. Father's Day, Mother's Day, the Valentine's Day, it's a big day for us, okay? Graduations, Christmas, whatnot. And we're going to continue that trade. Online recurring subscriptions, we're just getting into that. But what that is, you know, somebody says, hey, on the 15th of every month, send me a box of da-da-da. They give you your credit card and automatically you ship, okay? Or they'll say, hey, okay, my father-in-law's birthday, my dad's birthday, my mom, and they go through their family, and they subscribe for a gift to be sent at the appropriate time to them and whatnot. You know, you can laugh at it. There's a lot of money in it. The next one is the one that we are going to push really super hard on, and that's the specialty gifting of bereavement, for bereavement and weddings. You know, I can remember so many times, you know, in Punxsutawney here, somebody died. What did you do? There was a line of people at the door bringing food to them as a show of respect for the person who had passed, but a very practical gift for those who remained, because they needed to worry about the arrangements and the family coming from. The last thing they needed to do was worry about running to the A&P, you know. And we have been doing, and without soliciting it, because of our established customers, that gave me the idea. They started approaching us about, hey, we had a death in the family. Could we send a gift box, like as a bereavement thing? Now, it's so easy to do market research now. Pick up your phone, Google it. Bereavement gifts of food. There's nobody doing it. Nobody. They're doing food, but it's little cheese type things or fruit baskets or whatever. Think about it. I don't know how many here attend viewings or funerals. Think about it. When you go in there, I would say 40 to 50% of the honorariums that were sent aren't flowers. They're candles. They're these applique quilts or whatever you call them, and wind chimes and stuff. Also think about the way we did business years ago. I know when somebody passed and we would hear about it, somebody, you know, whatever, and we're down there and up here. Well, you called many years ago Otto's. They've been gone a long time, but Roseman's or whatever. And you said, well, you know, we would like to send an arrangement of flowers to the funeral home. People still do that, especially on a local level. But think about it. When you go to Andy's website, he has the obituary there, the person's, you know, whatever. And you want to send flowers, you click on it, his website. You want to do this, you click on it, okay? And so Andy and I are working together. We want to do that on a national level, okay? Because the internet's such a cheap way to sell, okay? You don't have to put a brick and mortar store, you know. We ship anywhere, okay? And we want to push that market. Because, you know, when you have stuff on the web and on the internet, and we're not talking just about at McCabe's and Shoemakers, and we're talking on a national basis. We want to push that. And the next thing is weddings. We've had an increasing amount of people come to us about buying wedding gifts. Because look, how many air fryers, toasters, blenders, and whatever, okay, but they buy our gift cards as a wonderful, nice gift. They you know, and we've created a card for that. I wish I had her send one of those up. But it says, congratulations on your big day. When the excitement of the wedding and the honeymoon's over, you get home, get online or call us, and we're going to ship you everything for a great meal. Yeah, or the meat products and whatnot. And you think about the practicality of that too. And so that's a market. And again, too, that can be done very easily over the internet. And we will. Person-to-person sales, yes. Restaurants, retailers, and walk-ins. And that's another market where we're at, we're very well poised to get to New York, Baltimore, Philadelphia, as well as, within several hours. Okay. Here we are Pittsburgh, Cleveland, Erie, Youngstown even, Akron, Canton. We actually were delivering out of Newville now, but we're probably out of here. We have a guy down in Wheeling, or Morgantown, West Virginia, buys a whole lot of stuff from us. We're closer here than there, so we would fulfill those orders from here. Okay. And we've had to kind of not curtail that, but just hold it back because another one of Grandpa's old sayings, don't write checks with your mouth, your ass can't cash, boy. And there's nothing worse than going out there and pushing your product and getting people to buy it. Then you don't have it to sell to them. So we kind of throttled that back till we can get that production level to where we can fulfill the checks that we're writing with our salesperson's mouth. The regular beef's not nearly so much of a problem. And so, employee gifting, we do a lot of that. The employee gifting is where a company will come to us and they'll, and we have some of them who still insist, and Senator Rothman knows who I'm talking about, John Gleim, great guy, well-known contractor down there. He insists that we make meat boxes up and deliver to all to their employees. Most of them do it with a gift card. That way they can be a little differential about if they like this more than that or whatever. And so I guess some of you probably have already picked up on that. I got some savvy business people in here that what we're going to do with what we're going to create here, we're already buying cattle down there, non-Wagyu cattle, to fulfill orders that we're selling down there, but not under the Punxsutawney Beef brand, of course. Now we will start to do that, but we want to bring them from here. And so you get in sales to where you have to, it's advantageous to hit price points, okay? And so when I walk into H&H Chevrolet down in Shippensburg, Pennsylvania, where we buy most of our vehicles that we purchase, our family, I can get everything from a Chevy Spark to a Cadillac Escalade. They have something for everybody. Well, now, rather than the Cadillac Wagyu, which people are going to, and you'd be surprised at our walk-in store how many blue-collar people that they love it, and once every couple of weeks, they come in, they park their pickup truck outside, and they're in their blue jeans, and they're working people, and they buy that stuff because that's their date night with their wife or their family. They just want to have a great meal, and they don't want the BS of having, and they okay, or they cook it for their dad for his birthday or Father's Day. So the nice part about selling that is, if you want to drive a Cadillac, you got to go pay the money for it. Here, you can just drive it when you want to, and you just spend a little more money at that time to buy a higher-end product. Okay, makes sense. So our job creation, and I'm very, very, very conservative with this because I made a business out of under-promising and over-delivering. So. But there's, the kind of positions, a farmer herd manager, I'd hire him today if I could find him. We're going to start looking for him. Him or her. At 50 to 100K a year plus to start, depending on depending on experience and the value that they bring to our company. Online sales manager, 40 to 100K, depending. Outside salesperson, similar salary. Our farm workers are going to, 40 to 75 grand a year. That's what we pay them down there. Why wouldn't I pay them that here? With benefits. With benefits. Very important. and delivery persons, a non-CDL type. And then we would have, part-time, probably farm help, very, very likely we will. And then full and part-time order fillers for those high volume times of the year, such as Christmas, Valentine's Day, Father's Day. When you have a large amount of stuff, you have to get shipped out with a deadline, so to speak, whatever. And we say there, jobs would offer health and retirement benefits. The companies that we operate, including myself, are union. I have a union card in my pocket, okay? I didn't sign my brain away to get it, okay? But we make sure that we want our people to have a good life, that they don't have to worry that they have health care if they get ill or their family, and that they have something beyond the stipend of Social Security to live on when they're done. And I'm gonna throw this out here. I'm willing to go one step further here. And I want you, especially you community leaders, to hear what I'm saying right now. I have a program drawn up where I want to help my employees get a path to home ownership. Because when we get more owner-occupied housing in this area, we get a better community with more public pride, okay? And what I'm willing to do is take and match to say to my employees, if you're willing to put 2.5% of your weekly salary away, I'll match that. But it can only go for the purchase of a primary domicile. Not a rental house, not an investment property, okay? Because think about it. Most of us here are at least, a little older, some young people. How do these young people get the money to get a damn house? How do they put that down payment together? Unless they have a generous grandparent or family member. How do they get it? The $25,000 to buy a house thing, I didn't go with that. And most of you didn't either. But Punxsutawney is a hand up, not a handout town. And I will give those people a hand up, and we could help them. And there's where there may be government programs that could help, such as HUD and other things, if we tap into them to do that. And you know what? Leaders lead. I want to be a leader. And Nick and I talked about this. And whether I do it because people think that what I did was a good idea or they're ashamed because they didn't do it, I don't care. I want to help people. I even want to step further to say this. That, well, it's kind of unfair to say to your employees that come on board that already own a home that would have little or no benefit to that program to them. So you say to those people, for every 2.5% that you're willing to put away for your child or grandchild's education, we'll match. And that could be used for parochial schools, Christian schools, any kind of institute of learning, technical schools, vocational, okay, to help them improve their kids' lives. I don't know what you think about what I just said. But I've watched people my whole life shake their head and wring their hands. It doesn't do a damn thing. I roll my sleeves up and I put my hands on it. And there's a way I can do that. And get good people behind me. Some of you got these in your gift bags. What do you think that means? Make Punxsutawney great again. That's not a political statement, that's a mission statement that I want to try to get as many people to get on board with me and do this. Okay? And I believe that I have some of the right people in the room to do that. So, what's next? Oh, the vendor opportunities. Here's where we're going to inject money into the community. Contract growers. We're ready today. I have several hundred cattle ready to come up here as soon as I can locate the place to put them with the right farmer to raise them. Okay, and the nice thing about what we're proposing and going to do is, the dairy businesses. Now, it is what it is. The only reason those poor people do it is because they get a check every week. It ain't much, but at least it comes every week, and they're not putting all that money out to put seed in the ground and do all that and hope it rains and then the market falls to heck and whatever. So it's a way to get a steady revenue stream, a regular steady revenue stream to them. The feed suppliers, hey, we're going to buy it local, okay? I see one of my local feed suppliers sitting here today. We want to help her build her business. Hay, silage, and straw, equipment sales and support. I'm not going to go to Carlisle and buy a damn tractor to bring up. I'm going to buy it here off of McGarvey's or whoever the local vendors are. Because that choking distance thing, remember? Meat processing. We do not own a meat processing facility at this time. I got very close to it, but then when I really sat back and looked at it, what we've done is we have three companies that do that for us. One of them is a great young guy, Blaine Ickes. He just bought North Mountain Butcher Shop, and it's now Rock Run Butchery. And we're his keystone. We're his key customer, and we're helping him build his business. And we have, if something would happen there, whether, he couldn't meet all our needs, we have other places we use. But that's what I want to do. There's probably a good company around here that has that service. And why do I want to go spend how many millions of dollars to build a USDA facility when I can help somebody that already has one and they're going to help me? Now, if I want to, I can, I will, but it's just not a sound business decision, at least not right now. In the future, if we get that large, yeah, but I'm going to prove I can run the mom and pop corner store here before I go taking over Walmart. Pretty good business advice. Veterinary services. I discussed this with somebody earlier about veterinary services. It's a hell of a lot easier to get somebody to work on your poodle than your heifer. So we have to, and it's expensive, but we want to establish those veterinary relationships because these animals are expensive and we take ultra good care of them. And so that's just another way we're going to put money. Agricultural construction, we're already doing. Tech supplies and support. I have here my tech supplier right now from New Bethel. Okay? I've used him for years, and he's my not just my supplier, but my friend, and that's the Reverend Dr. Gordon Barrows. Okay, we helped grow his business, and he's helped me grow mine, and that's only going to continue. And farming isn't as low tech as it used to be, and there's a lot that plays into that, and that's where we see Penn State and IUP and some of these things like that being involved with us to help teach us, and maybe we can teach them a few things too. Wagyu cattle are really rare, okay? And I just talked to the representative from Penn State, Mr. Heater, and he has one herd of 20 and some guy that has an experimental thing he's doing with 10 cattle. Well, I got 1,000. And it's an opportunity for Penn State and their programs to get familiar with what we're doing. Because if we do it and we grow it and we get good at it, we're going to, it's only going to be beneficial to all involved. And professional business services, that goes, lease agreements and all that. Marketing partner, these are the people that we're looking to find and identify. Wineries, good wine and a great steak go together. And we would like to partner with somebody like that to market with us and with them. Craft brewers is another one. Chocolates, especially when it comes to a lot of that gifting of different sorts for whether it's bereavement or the different holidays. And putting packages together. And we talked about putting home meal deals together where everything comes in that box that you need to make that meal. Perishable and non-perishable foods and local artisan items, such as some of the stuff you see that we have here, the cutting boards and the different things. And even our advertising stuff, like our bags and whatever. These are the people that we're already working with in this area: Stellos, Marta's, TechReady, and Standard Pen. Is somebody here from Standard today? I didn't see if they came or not. Okay, but we're and those relationships are only going to grow. Is that the end of it? Okay. Well, local real estate investment. We've already bought a couple properties. We're going to buy more. We're talking about a couple potential leases, and then once we do that, we're going to improve them. And that money's going to be spent locally. I buy virtually every dime's worth of stuff in this area from CRW. I could call Home Depot, Lowe's, or whatever. You know, the better part of that is my corporate credit card, all my gift points, I could choose how I get them. And at any given time, I'm carrying on the low end $8,000, $9,000, on the high end $40,000 worth of Home Depot gift cards. Gordon will tell you. But yet I buy from a local. I use those to donate, and I use them to give gifts to employees and things like that, and whatever. And I could use those cards, but I buy local. Why? I practice what I preach. Okay, and we want to exude that. The key timing factors, I mentioned IUP, RFK. We need to beat that any further. The culinary expansion, $44 million is the figure I was told they're going to spend down here and expand that culinary school. What an opportunity for them and for us. For us to work with them on new recipes and different products, and them to use us to teach their students. And I talked to Lynn about this, and they're desirous of this, is to have part of their curriculum involve sourcing of the foods from a known source where you get your stuff. Okay, you don't have to be as smart as the head price checker at Everything's a Dollar Store to see that could be a very good relationship for both of us. We've talked about doing cooking shows and podcasts with them to get their name and our name out, whatever. All under development, but not tabled. It's under development. And Jeff Tech, some of you may or may not know that this year they initiated a curriculum to teach meat cutting to the people. I don't know whose idea that was, but it was a good one. Not because I'm just but I'm talking to these meat people that I deal with down east, and they're saying, Jim, we'd like to recruit out of there. Because you don't know how hard meat cutters are to get. And now, when you do get them, it's really easy to tell a good meat cutter from a bad one because the good ones still have all their fingers. All right. So what's our ask here? What are we saying? What did we ask you here today? Well, I've been told the only dumb question is the one you don't ask. I don't agree with that because I've heard some pretty stupid questions, but but we're looking for whether through government or private or whatever, access to grants and low interest funding for as we grow and expand. When I started the farming, I was buying money at 5%. Hell, on my line of credit, I was only a little over 6 from a line of credit. I was buying money at the high 4s, low 5s. It's a hell of a lot different now. Okay, so that's very important over the amortization of an obligation. The interest, and we've worked with CADIC down there, Cumberland County Economic Development, and through M&T Bank, and got some of that 4%. They had a deal that. And we've done that down there. I think we have it all paid back, but we did it. And we'll do it here as well. Technical assistance. Well, I just talked about Penn State. Okay, I talked about IUP. What assistance? And those aren't the only sources. Those are just two that I can spit out, quickly. Helping us identify potential growers, people who might be interested, employee recruitment and training. We actually work with the different entities within the state government where we, in our construction down there, we get assistance in providing safety training for our people. They provide help and funding and resources. We certainly want to do that here. Potential marketing partners, other people who might want to work with us to sell. Hub Zone is something that I need to speak to Senator Fetterman's representative here discuss, because that's a senatorial program, and we want to see if there's, if we qualify for that. And helping identify other revenue streams. I have no exclusivity to good ideas. I rarely have one, probably, but other people do, and we want to tap into that. And so I guess that pretty much sums up what I wanted to share with you here today. I apologize if I got a little long-winded. I hope I didn't, but I hope I did a good enough job to explain to you what I'm doing, why I'm doing it, and how I'm going to do it.